This is Talking Points, powered by the Planck Center.
We're your hosts, Sonny Miller,
Andrew Cook,
and Carolyn Locke.
We'll be bringing you exclusive conversations with both emerging and seasoned professionals to talk about various topics associated with our Planck Center resource guides, which are available for free on the Planck Center website, by the way.
From mentorship to workplace confidence to making big moves, you'll hear it all from the brightest minds in the field.
This season is tied to the theme of making the next big move. In the upcoming episodes, we'll talk about what happens when you're gunning for that next big promotion, looking to grow within your current role, or deciding it's time to leave for the next great opportunity.
So join us every week as we shine a light on the new voices in our field, learn from industry experts, and talk about the future we aim to build together.
Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the Planck Center's podcast, Talking Points. We're your hosts, Carolyn Locke
and Sonny Miller. Today we're going to be speaking to Molly McKenna about the big promotion. As you know, this season we're focusing on all of the ways that you can move in your career, making that next big move. And one of those big moves that you can make, and maybe one of the most exciting ones, is the big promotion. If you've been excelling in your current role and are ready for more responsibility, a promotion could be on the horizon. And it's exciting because they validate all of your hard work at your current company and show that your team really values your contributions. So without further ado, let's get into our conversation with Molly, Senior Director of Brand Communications at McDonald's. Molly, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And this is an awesome topic that I love talking about. So really, really glad to be here.
We appreciate it. So to kick things off, why don't you give us a little bit of background on your career, walk us through it, and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so I feel like it's hard to do in a short amount of time, but essentially I started at McDonald's as an intern. I had just graduated from college. I went to Marquette University, and believe it or not, I got my first cell phone right after graduation. So that tells you how old I am, but also puts it a little perspective of maybe how things have changed in a short 20-year period. But I was looking for a job, and I was looking for a real job, and, was striking out. I went to all these different, send my resume 1,000 places. And, I happened to be sitting home, and my dad got a call from someone at McDonald's that he just knew as a friend. And I said, hey, could you just ask, would they, do they have any jobs? And so this friend of my dad's agreed to meet with me, and he worked in a different department at McDonald's. And, I came in and I had, portfolio and, all these things, and really kind of showed my passion. He said, you know what, I'll put you in touch to have an informational interview with someone. And the chief communications officer at the time was an alumni of Marquette, where I went. So he was willing to take that meeting. And, sometimes leveraging your network and where you go to school can be a helpful thing. But met with him, and, he said, you know what, we don't have any full-time jobs for people right out of school, but we are launching some pretty big programs and we could use some extra help. Would you want to be our intern? I was like, intern? I'm a college graduate. I'm ready for a real job.
I want to get paid.
Exactly. I want to move downtown and get my own apartment. And but anyway, I thought about it and agreed that getting the experience would be incredible. And I joined, and about 10 months later, my internship just kept extending, and I was able to kind of prove myself and demonstrate the value I was adding. And I was hired on full-time about 10 months later. And then I have worked in many different roles across the company. I've always been in communications, but I've worked on the global side in the US business. I did a short stint in one of our regions. And we've gone through many different turnarounds and changes. And so I almost feel like I've worked for 3 or 4 different companies. But now I lead our brand communications team. And it's been a great ride. So really been a great career so far.
That's awesome. So looking back at your work experience, you've gone through a good number of promotions at McDonald's. You mentioned you started as an intern, gone to PR manager, all the way up to now Senior Director of Global Brand Communications. But was there one promotion that you think defined your career?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. I think one of the promotions that defined my career, it was actually interesting because we had gone through a complete restructure, and we had new leadership that were kind of brought in to kind of shake things up and, turn around the business and, our communications team. And there was a lot of passion in this one area for these leaders, and they really wanted to focus in this one area. And so I really wanted to go to that area because I felt like that was going to be all the attention, and that was, where the visibility was going to be and where all the work was going to be. And I didn't get put on that team. And that was really hard because I thought, I'm forgotten. They don't really want me on the good team. But instead, I was put on what they didn't know was really critical work. And maybe what people that were new at the company didn't realize was actually the work that kept the business going and was really vital. And what was interesting was I was put into a role where I essentially had to kind of lead things completely. And because all the attention was in this other area, it really allowed me to really take the reins and lead this team. And I was really able to demonstrate value. And I think after a certain amount of time, those leaders really saw, oh, wow, we actually need to pay attention to this. And Molly's doing a great job. And it actually opened the door for other things. So I think sometimes when you come into those times when maybe you're disappointed, sometimes it's actually a blessing in disguise and kind of puts you in a path towards another direction. So that to me was definitely a defining moment.
Yeah, everything happens
it really
for a
speaks
reason.
to the idea of like growing where you're planted. I think that
Yeah.
making the most of whatever opportunity, and I'm sure many of us who have been out in the field for a while can agree, it is often the less glamorous roles that are actually the potentially most vital and sometimes most interesting, because some industries that you might not think of as being like flashy are much more creative work because they are not inherently flashy.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point and so true.
I actually have another question just going off of that, but I haven't gone through a promotion myself. It's just been about 2 years since I've been in the industry, so it's great hearing from someone who's been in the industry for so long. But how do you stay a little bit motivated when you feel like you have been working in a role for so long, but you feel like you're not getting that recognition or you're not getting that promotion, and everyone's saying, just wait. Maybe like the business is, on hold in terms of like financial issues and such like that. So, what would you recommend to someone who's maybe struggling with that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and it's something I've struggled with many times in my career. At a place like McDonald's, there's only, so many promotions you get, go like 7 or 8 years without a promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be like, oh man. I think, for me, what I've always done is tried to, almost make a list of like, well, what are all the good things that I'm liking about this job? I might not have the promotion, but like I have a great boss, or I'm allowed to travel to cool places, or I'm doing really great work. And usually if those things are on the higher side, sometimes you can have that patience to wait a little bit. But it's certainly is hard. I think it is really important to advocate for yourself though, and be able to have those real conversations. I think, you're in control of your destiny to some extent. And so I think having a real direct conversation with your boss and saying, here are all the accomplishments I've done, and I actually think I'm operating at this level. I think that's one of my biggest pieces of advice. Every time I've gotten promotion, you've got to be doing the job ahead of you before you get it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're kind of seen as a natural shoe-in for the role. I think too many people think, well, I've been working hard and doing a good job, I should get promoted. But really, it's less about you personally, and it's, can you do that role, and are you doing it well? So I think being an advocate with your boss and demonstrating, what you're doing, but also really thinking about and asking yourself those questions. Am I, when I look at the next level up, am I operating like that? Do people look at me as that next role? And, sometimes those things can kind of help you propel to that next level.
Yeah. And on the same note of being an advocate for yourself, sometimes I think you have to take a little bit of the reins and seek out your next promotion, right? Like they might not think of you right away for it. How do you go about really owning your career path and finding the next role? Do you have any tips in that space?
Yeah, I think you definitely have to put yourself out there. And I think, you might put yourself out for a role that you're not ready for. And that's okay. But it's then, then maybe down the line in 6 months when another role comes open, the person you had that conversation with said, oh, yeah, I remember talking to her or him, and they, really demonstrated they are interested in this area. And I think that they'd be a great fit. So, that advocacy is really good. And, sometimes it's, you got to think of it as like the journey. I think people always want kind of that immediate, like, okay, now I'm ready for the next role. And sometimes you really got to have that long game in mind, which can be hard. But yeah, being clear on like what you're looking to do, what can I keep doing, to grow, where are areas that you see that I need to, get experience in to be able to move to the next level. So being that self-advocate is key.
For sure.
And then we know that you've been working at McDonald's, most of your entire career. And it's sometimes very rare to come across someone who's, so passionate about the company that they're working for. We're seeing a lot of turnover in terms of like agencies and even on the corporate side. But for you, you've been there for over 20 years, like you mentioned. So what made you stay at McDonald's as long as you have? And what is it like working for one brand for so long?
Yeah. I mean, first, I think you have to have passion for whatever, you're doing. McDonald's, I like to say we have ketchup in our veins. So, I have a lot of passion for McDonald's, and I love being able to really see and touch see the work we do out in the marketplace, so definitely have the passion. I think McDonald's for me has been a place where I am constantly challenged. And I think anytime I've been in that rut or feeling frustrated or feeling like you're not recognized for your work or not ready for that promotion, something always has changed or given me a new challenge. And the people, of course, at McDonald's are great. And the other thing I would say is just, having been at McDonald's 22 years, there are still things that I'm asked about that I don't know. So the fact that like there's still so much to learn or not have background on to me is really fascinating, with just always being able to take on a new challenge, learn something new, meet a new person, I think is what really keeps me here.
Yeah, I think that's a really great mindset to have, especially we were actually talking before you hopped on that some people who stay at companies for so long, they get stuck in their old ways, or maybe not, they're maybe stubborn to like to new traditions or the new generation and such. But I think viewing your job as like a new challenge every day, there's new people to meet every day, I think that kind of keeps the excitement going.
And I think
For
that's
sure.
something that's so inherent to our industry. Like, public relations as a field is constantly evolving. We are constantly having to tackle new technology. Media is changing so quickly. Carolyn was just telling me about the first podcast held in the metaverse just this week.
Wow.
So we, there's so much going on in our industry. So it is constantly challenging, but it's about finding an environment that is going to, support that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, and I mean that's what I think is so exciting about your generation that are new in your careers. You are at the forefront of all this new technology and ways of communicating. And what doesn't change in the world of public relations is the need to connect with people and tell stories and shape perceptions. But what you guys really bring to the table is just understanding the best new ways to do that. So I think that's a really powerful thing that I think a lot of companies would really value in having people like you guys on the team.
thank you.
Totally.
I'm sure everyone is very pleased to hear that in our listenership. Speaking of, what is a piece of advice that you would give to our listeners, some emerging leaders out there, or even students looking to make themselves stand out in their upcoming promotion cycles?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, a little of what I touched on, where you're really demonstrating, you're setting yourself apart from your peers, and you're really demonstrating that you're already doing that job, right? So there should be no question of who gets this, because like, I'm ready, put me in, coach. So I think, I think that is the best piece of advice I could give, like doing more than what your job is right now to demonstrate your ability to take on more and, take on that capacity. I've always really tried to think about, whoever my boss is, like, how can I be their number two? How can I make their life easier? How can I make myself just indispensable with them because I am helping them. I think often, I see sometimes, oh, that's not my job. So, this person can do it. And I think, one of the things that's helped me in my career is just always being helpful and resourceful, or going the extra mile. And therefore people want you on their team, and people then can't live without you. And then, they want to promote you because they want to keep you. So I think those things are, I would say, really important.
Got to go beyond the job description sometimes.
Yeah. And it's hard. I mean, sometimes when you're just starting out, you're doing a lot of work, and it can be long hours, and, it's hard. But I think, being able to demonstrate that, I think, I'll be honest, one thing I see, I think, some people, emerging people are just kind of they want to climb the ladder really quick, and they're ready to be the next VP. And, I think that's obviously great and ambitious, but I think you have to demonstrate, your growth and your learning and your success in your job, and, reaching that next level, to get there.
Totally. I feel like some of my friends that I have in the industry that are our age, they do have that, we want the immediate next role, especially like coming out of college. It's like you have this very specific plan, like you're a freshman, then you're a sophomore, and you feel like you're getting promoted or in your in that kind of school academic life. But then when you get to the job, it's like you're waiting and waiting, and sometimes it feels like you're waiting forever, and there's no patience. I also feel like it's because we do live in a social media era, and it's like that instant gratification that we're always looking for. But I think it is important to make sure that we remind ourselves that it is a long game. We have to be patient, and the right opportunity will come when it's ready. So
I cannot tell you how many conversations I had with managers, mentors, just being like, I'm ready. Like, why can't they see? And I look back on that time, and I'm just like, I was kind of ready, but I was way more ready when it actually came. And I'm glad for it. And I think that it's really tough to balance that ambition. And you're so right, Carolyn. I really do blame our school systems for, like, starting in pre-K, you're like, okay, the kindergartners are out. Like, I get to sit at a big kid desk now. Like, and you just keep moving up. And when the seniors leave, like, you become in charge of the school newspaper or whatever. And you're just on every year, I should be getting a promotion, right? And then you graduate and you're like, I should wait 3 years. What? And that was really, really hard for me personally.
Yeah,
but
for sure. For sure. And I think what you brought up, Carolyn, too, about just like sometimes the comparing, or you have friends in other industries and they're like, rising the ranks. And, I always say, well, I'm in meetings talking about Grimace's birthday or the Grimace Shake. So, I really love what I do. And so it's, it's all the choice, right? Of sure, there's places you can go and, rise faster, but you really got to think about your whole, like, what makes you happy and what's kind of the holistic plan in the long game.
Yeah, totally. My husband and sister-in-law were obsessed with the Grimace birthday stuff. They were like sending each other memes nonstop. We went to McDonald's multiple times.
I love it.
It took over my TikTok feed. It was insane. All the creepy stuff people were doing on there.
It was nothing we ever could have predicted. Let me tell you that.
Every day is an adventure, like we said. Something new.
Sure.
Speaking of, we have some rapid fire questions for you.
All right.
So, Carolyn, I'm going to let you kick it off.
Yeah. Well, we have to ask, since you work at McDonald's, what's your go-to McDonald's order?
Oh, that's good. I am a very loyal Egg McMuffin girl for breakfast. But it's hard for me to say my one go-to order. So for breakfast, it's the Egg McMuffin. But I'm also a big McNugget fan. So
nice. Classic.
McNuggets. And if I'm really going to splurge, I'm going to get a chocolate shake and, of course, the fries too.
Of course. A classic.
I love a McFlurry, personally.
What are yours? I'm curious.
I'm also like it's either a McChicken. I love me like a McChicken, or just the 10-piece nuggets. Like, it's a classic childhood nostalgic thing.
Oh yeah.
Sure. I love nuggets, a McFlurry, and I love a fresh fry and dipping the fries in the McFlurry.
Oh yeah.
So good.
And also go and get some right after this.
I hope we're making everyone hungry.
I know,
I
right?
heard a rumor that the reason why McDonald's has the best tasting soda is because you invest so much in your water filtration systems in your restaurants. Is that accurate?
This is true. There are a few things, believe it or not, but yeah, we actually have partners from Coke that come and service our machines regularly. But it's the filtration system. It's also the wider straw also impact, like the whole experience. Um, it's all it all adds up to the spiciest Sprite, the best
Yeah,
tasting.
the best tasting Sprite you can on the market, I would say. I consider myself a connoisseur of Sprite. I love Sprite. So.
The spicy Sprite always gets me.
Okay. In your opinion, which country has the best McDonald's menu?
Ooh, I think what's interesting is some of our European countries where you can actually get a beer with your food, so that's kind of fun.
That's
But
so
there,
cool. That's
I
super
don't know if
smart.
I could pick one. I mean, it's always great when you're traveling because sometimes you just want that taste of home and you just want to, those fries or a Big Mac, but it's always fun. I was in Portugal recently and got to try some really great burgers and chicken sandwiches that they had. And so, yeah, it's amazing some of the different things you can get. Corn in China, rice burgers in other parts of Asia. So there's some great stuff.
Oh, I have to isn't it true that in Chicago, though, in your headquarters, you're able to order from all the different countries in the world, though?
Yes. So you guys will have to come. We have our global menu restaurant, and it's the only place in the US. And so we rotate every few months, and we usually have about 4 or 5 items from other countries.
Nice. Yeah, me and Sonny are going to go to Chicago soon, so we
Yeah,
have to hit it
it's
up.
coming up. So
All right. Well, let me know. Yep.
Yeah.
Give you a tour and let you try all the things.
Awesome.
Okay, now we're going to give you some brackets of the battle of McDonald's food items. So, McChicken or McRib?
I mean, you got to go with a McRib. It's
why I
so
told us
elusive. It's so saucy, I mean, you just got to try it. I'm sure you
Well, it's good.
Everyone always asks for its back, so it makes sense. All right, a McMuffin or a McGriddle? I think you already answered this before. You're a McMuffin kind of girl.
I am.
And then sweet and sour sauce versus tangy barbecue.
I'm going to give a shameless plug for the new sauces that we just announced yesterday. So we have our new Mambo sauce and we have our new sweet and spicy jam. And actually the sweet and spicy jam is the first sauce that we're pairing with breakfast items. So if you're feeling adventurous this weekend, you can go try either of the sauces and they're both very good. The Mambo sauce has a little kick to it, which I like.
Ooh,
Fun.
That's exciting.
Late breaking news. That's what everyone comes to this podcast for, the latest news on McDonald's. So, okay, now we're going to throw it back a little bit. Did you have a favorite Happy Meal toy growing up? This sparked a big conversation for Carolyn and I, reflecting upon our favorite Happy Meal toys of our childhood.
I want to hear yours.
No, you go first. You're the guest.
Well, so I'm definitely partial to the McNugget Buddies, which I think are super fun. I don't know if you've heard of these, but they're they're like McNuggets that are, buddies and dressed up as different things. So those were kind of a fan favorite, but I'm curious what yours were.
I think I remember there was a partnership between Tamagotchi back then.
Oh yeah.
That was an exclusive, no one could get their hands on it, but they were fun. Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to go through every day, trying to get one.
Yeah. I remember, that was a big selling point for me was the Happy Meal toys. And I remember the Tamagotchis vividly. I remember the mini Barbies very well. And I remember sometimes I'd get, I think they were doing 2 different options and it was a race car, Hot Wheels and a Barbie, and sometimes I get a Hot Wheel and I'd be so disappointed because I did not want a Hot Wheel. I was there for the Barbies. But I also do very vividly remember the Beanie Baby and McDonald's Happy Meals craze. And that was, my mom wouldn't let me keep them. She would store them elsewhere because, everyone the Beanie Baby bubble was such a big thing. And one day I went downstairs when my mom was away and I asked my dad if he could help me get my toys off the tall shelf. And he unwittingly did. And I unwrapped all of them. My mom was
you could be a millionaire right now.
I could have paid for my college. Sorry, Mom.
You wanted
Oh
the
my
instant
gosh.
joy, though.
I
This is
did
like
that instant gratification.
this is our parallel between promotions and Happy Meal toys and just
Yep.
waiting it out.
Oh my gosh. I'm
That's
sure
so
there are a
funny.
lot of stories like that too.
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
I'm sure.
Okay, now we're just going to go away a little bit from the McDonald's conversations, but is there a show you're binge watching right now?
I am just a very busy woman right now with work and my 3 children who are keeping me very busy. So I don't get a ton of time, but I did just binge the new season of the Murdoch
Oh,
Murders.
yeah.
I'm big into like crime and those
Mhm.
things. And I also downloaded Love is Blind season 4, which I'm very excited to start watching. Or is it season 5? Whatever the new
Season
one
5.
is.
I just started
5.
watching it too. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
I'm going on a business trip to Iowa this weekend, and I am planning on downloading it. And yeah, that's going to be my entertainment
Oh,
when
all
I'm
right.
there.
They're
Yeah,
so
I
dramatic.
can't wait to watch.
I
I
love
know.
I
It's
cannot
so
wait.
it.
Okay. What is your favorite social platform?
I definitely am a traditional girl in the sense of, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I do love TikTok. I get sucked in like before I go to bed at night, and all of a sudden I'm like, I need to go to bed. Why have I just been sitting here for 40 minutes watching
Mhm.
TikTok? I don't really post on it. I just watch. So I'm just dating myself. But it's funny. My daughter, who is a freshman, I have to snap her to communicate. So she really will respond better on Snapchat than just
That's so
texting.
funny.
So, I'm learning and evolving as I go.
Meeting your audience where you are. That's
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
that's the lesson. And then lastly, are there any other brands that you're admiring right now?
I think there's lots of brands. I think Barbie and Mattel was just
Insane.
unbelievable. I mean,
Ugh.
we did some case studies on them, and they just, it's just crazy how successful that was, and it's just so impressive. So, and you're seeing memes about the Mattel team or the Barbie team should get, bonuses for like when they're getting credit within pop culture. It's pretty
Mhm.
amazing. So, that was a pretty awesome campaign.
Yeah.
You're kind of
That's
giving
such a good
Barbie
point.
right now.
Oh yeah, I am
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good
That's
point.
channeling. I'm channeling
Mhm.
that.
I have seen the movie 5 times now
Have you really?
5
in
times?
theaters. Yeah, I
Oh
love
my
it.
gosh.
Oh my
I
god.
love it. I love it. I love it. And I just
It was
keep
really
taking
good.
people to it. Like
Yeah.
anyone I find out hasn't yet seen it, I'm like, oh, is it because you need someone to go with? And then I take them. So
You're like the biggest brand ambassador for them now.
I honestly am. They should, if they're giving out bonuses, like I'm here. Hello.
You're helping to promote them.
That's so
Mhm.
funny.
And now on the pod. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
Well, that's all the questions that we have for you, Molly. Thank you again so much for joining us. I'm sure our listeners really appreciate the insights that you provided. And then are you open to like people reaching out on LinkedIn to like connect with
Sure.
you or anything
Absolutely.
like that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that's all we have for you folks. We'll catch you on our next podcast. And until then, we'll see you soon.
Thanks so
Bye,
much
Molly.
for having me. Bye.
This was Talking Points powered by the Planck Center. You can find the resource guide for this episode on planckcenter.ua.edu under free resources. And you can subscribe for more episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or for the video versions, follow us on YouTube at the Planck Center. You can also find Planck Center content on Instagram at Planck Center PR and on LinkedIn at the Planck Center. Talk to you soon.